vehicle pursuit in progress. Available officers, please proceed to Bryant. Over.
I better stop them before they end up in driver's ed videos.
Attention all units. Kidnapping reported.
Well,
Proceed to Cathedral.
yes I am. Sorry about that. But I will do live commentary as well as give you any answers to any question that you need. So, if you have any questions about any game mechanics or certain elements, be sure to ask down below, and I'll be sure to answer as honest to my ability. And welcome to the stream. Hope you all enjoy this tutorial on the tips and tricks of Marvel's Spider-Man PS4. Now, as I've shown in the previous few minutes before I turned on the microphone, I was basically showing higher momentum, press L3 to dive, press R2 to swing, then as soon as he kicks up in the air, you just press X and you gain more momentum each swing. See? Kick, lift, swing, shows his legs, kick. Same thing. So, next thing we'll be going over again, as shown earlier, is pressing L2 and R2 at the same time to do that. Just to stick onto a surface and just cling on there like you're looking over the whole entire city of New York.
Available officers, please proceed to Bryant.
And
Over.
if you want to gain momentum as well as doing that trick, you press L2 and R2 at the same time, then X. Just so. Then swing, and X. But once you start getting to do this more and more, it'll become like second nature and you don't even know you're doing it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. So like right here, as you can see me zipping through buildings, it takes a little bit of practice to do that. But, as I've shown, practice makes perfect in this game, and don't be afraid to try new things. Like, for example, doing this, dive, and then launch in the air, and all that. As you could see, like before, I made a mistake on not jumping off in time. Well, that's okay. Practice makes you perfect, and more sweet stunts you could do in this game as well. And right here, if you saw that X when I was about to reach the rooftop, it helps you swing over the whole entire roof. Right now, like it does so, even though I chose a poor spot. Next thing you want to do is try that again. If you want to learn more about that, just keep running. See that X? Launch. Same thing again. Launch. It's very easy to catch, even though it might be quick. It will be easier when you practice. Like so, and if you want to get over a building like this, don't be afraid to press X to zip to a further length and distance and get past it so you can just dive right back down to the streets of New York and start swinging like the legendary web slinger himself. Next would be wall running. Wall running would be like this, running across up and down, left and right of the walls. And if you want to make it a little bit of a cool, unique entrance, I will show one example. See, like down there is this building I'm about to head to. I'll run onto the side of the building right here. And hold circle. You'll swing right to the next side of the building like you're just turning a car around using an automatic brake. But, yeah, as a shown example again. Hold circle. Hold circle. Then you keep doing it. And then if you want to mix it up with your swinging, press X to jump off. dive, then R2. And keep doing that, and you'll be able to learn this a little bit quicker than most. And it might seem complicated at first, but don't worry, it's something even I couldn't even do at first. It takes a lot of practice, and when you do start playing this game from the beginning, you won't be swinging as fast as I am currently, because this is my beginning save, like my very first time playing this game. So I've had a little bit more time to practice and get more hours into the web slinging. One thing, if you want to know, is if you're in the point where I'm at, it is a skill called, hold on. It is, let's see. Well, I'll show you here. Whenever you reach up in the sky and reach to maybe this height, press X and square at the same time to come crashing down at a wrecking speed if you want to just come land on the ground and maybe cause some combat against some ordinary thugs robbing a store, maybe holding a bus captive, you name it. If you just want to make a big entrance and cause a shockwave to send them all flying, then just do that, as shown here. Square and X, shockwave, sends them flying. And it doesn't even have to be a beginning fighting to do it. So you could just do it just for an entrance if you wanted to. So after you get done swinging per se like this, swing and then kick as shown earlier. Then press X and square to the same time to show you that you're just showing, hey, I've learned an entrance. And one trick I have noticed in this game that is very kind of difficult to master is the water tower trick, which is able to zip through the water tower with ease, and like you're just right as soon as you meet a certain part of the pipes and that hold it up together, then you just zip right through it like a small space, and then you can continue swinging and going through New York. A trick to help you get this mastered is hold L2, then R2, then zip right through. That's a very good beginner's tip to help you master that one trick right there, as I'll show you again. I'll go back to that same water tower.
Attention units, drug deal reported. Need an officer to check it out. Officers near Bowery, please respond.
Hold L2, R2, then zip through. Then run up, X, zip, dive, R2 to swing, then press X to gain momentum. Rinse and repeat to get through New York. And do remember, this is my end-game kind of save, so you might not be swinging this quickly through New York at your beginning of your game. So if you do decide to get it, you'll be kind of swinging at your own pace and not at my own. So, and as you level up, you get to gain more speed and health, and as well as melee damage as you get up from 1 to 50. But as soon as you reach maybe level 40 to 50, your web slinging becomes as fast as I have it right now, and well, it will just stay the same, and you can just master the techniques I'm showing you currently as you level up, and you become better at it and better at it with just practice. And even though, yes, it might seem difficult, as soon as you master it, you'll be impressing your friends, showing them all the neat tricks and other materials you've learned from this live stream, and show them those certain tricks as well, so you can basically tell them how to become like the actual web slinger himself. And now another trick I wanted to show you all is basically the flips and twirls like you saw in my last live stream of yesterday, of part 1. So you swing up in the air, get a high enough momentum, press triangle and circle, then back on the left stick. You do a flip like that. Do the same thing, but push right on the stick, you do that. Then, same buttons, forward, you do a flip. Then, if you want to do that twirl but to the left, you launch, hold triangle and circle, and left. And each time you do those tricks, they gain you XP. Not much though, but it'll gain you some, so you could slowly level up as you web sling throughout the city. And it's a very fun and satisfying mechanic to do through. So, if you want it to look as amazing, as spectacular as in the comics, don't be afraid to try these combos out. And if you do land and make it a little bit rough landing, don't be afraid to try it again. It's always in the matter of timing. As shown, you can mixture both of them, all three if you want, if you have enough air and time. And another mechanic that you might not know is if you're near a ledge, like this, you click in the left analog stick right when you're on top, and you perch. Just like you're watching over the whole entire city, waiting for crime to happen, and save whoever is nearby in distress. And as you keep flying through New York, you'll notice like these exclamation marks. Those are crimes. Basically, those can either range from people robbing stores, hijacking a bus, to even where they just try to have. Now, I'll try to get into the combat here right now. So, when you go into this, as you see me dodging and weaving, you press dodge with circle, and if they don't try to hit you with it shows the spider sense, like here, circle, you web them. But that skill won't be available until later, where you get to web them and stun them for a bit, like that. That'll help you later in the game, and is a real big lifesaver. So, whenever you have enough skill points later in the game, be sure to pick that up, because you'll be thankful in your later run to get it, because when you face the future bosses, it is going to be real pain when you don't have this ability. Now, one thing I could show you is the basic launch up. You hold square, you launch this guy in the air. Show it again, hold square, launch, combo. And if you want to, now these big guys right here, they're brutes. They won't go down to combos easily, as shown. He just blocks them. And he could counterattack with that one hit. If you perfectly dodge like I did, you could stun him. As so. And if you saw that triangle and circle above their heads, that means I could do a finish. When you could do a finish is basically when you could automatically finish them. A normal outlaw, or basically crook, like him, for example, he only takes one. Hey Eddie, how's it going? Nice of you to join in. But as I was saying, basically if you see this type of thug right here, normal, average build, he takes one of these green bars that builds up during your fight. And it finishes him outright. But the thugs right here, the brutes, they take up to 2. So, when you fight them, they'll take 2 of your bars, depending on how many you have at the time. So when you begin the game, you only start with 1. So you only be able to take on basic goons. Then, when you reach maybe around level 20 to 30, you'll be able to get a second bar, or third. And after you reach that, you'll be able to take down these brutes in one hit, whenever you gain enough of those bars. And how you gain those bars is, I'll show you an example. Once another crime pops up, I'll show you how that works. Oh, and actually, how it also works is by you web slinging. So you just web slinging throughout the whole entire town of New York. It basically builds up that meter of that focus. Slowly but surely, it'll gain it, so in your next fight, you'll at least have 1 bar to go with whenever you fight them. And the more tricks you do, the more you gain. For example, like this. You gain a little bit at a time. And then, if you want to make sure, if you don't hear any of the policemen say, oh, there's a store being robbed, or oh, there's people being held hostage, or there's been a narcotics sale. Well, basically what you do is you don't even have to be in the air or just web slinging for this. Just click the right analog stick, and you get to observe all crimes. And speak of the devil, there's one right there. So you head right to it, and see, it also can lead to car crashes to where you have to save certain civilians. And once you do save them, it might tell you, oh, there was someone who caused this, basically driving through here like a maniac. And then you'll have to find the car and then chase them down. And right here, if someone's underneath the car, you'll have to press triangle. Then either, if you have the option to, hold square, or the other option is to mash it to lift off the car. Yep. And you basically help them get out of the car, and it helps you get a better head start on this quest. And see, that circle on the left is showing you where those crooks are that started the whole car wreck. So, and that's them right there. So what you do is basically what all you learn from your web slinging to catch up to them. And see triangle, you press that to get onto their car. And if you want to have an easier time catching these guys and know which window they're going to pop out of, press R3 again. So you could scan the area and they will glow red. So if you see them picking their head out of the window, you know which window to poke out of. And as you see right here, as I took the last guy out of the car was starting to keep moving. So what you had to do then is hold square and stop the car. And that rewarded me with a complete event of a robbery. Now, even though I have completed this save 100%, there are about, let's see, there is about, yeah, four types of crimes. Basically thugs, there's demons, there's prisoners, and there's Sable. 3 of them I will not spoil because it'll be through the playthrough in the future. But the thugs, as you're seeing, like a car chase, robberies, stores, all that kinds of things. So, and basically, another thing to know is the thugs are one of the easiest enemies to take care of. And as you progress through the game, the enemies get a little bit tougher. Like, even though you haven't seen it right now, there is an enemy that carries a shield. And if you remember from the live stream from yesterday, you will notice that one of the people I was fighting had a shield. One way to take them down is using a web strike, which is triangle. And like so, triangle. You zip right to him. And then once he gets stunned a bit from you doing that, you press circle, right, diving underneath him, then kicking him from the back. And another thing you also would want to know after doing this is when you hit them from the back, it does a little bit more damage than when you do from the front. And here, when you're in the air and doing combos, it gains you more focus. So don't be afraid to mix up your combos here and there. Like one air, one land, and one maybe, and a mixture. So, like example here. As you saw me dunking underneath him, it might not have been required, but it does help get that little extra damage in it, some notices. And as you saw that one man I was just fighting with a crowbar, you cannot basically attack him outright. Either A, you have to web him up by pressing R1 to release your webs, as shown here. It will web him up and leave him vulnerable, and you can basically just wail on him until A, the webs wear off, or B, he gets knocked out. Then the next thing that the game basically teaches you is hold square, which is the launch move. So holding square, well, even though I'm not in violence, will launch him up in the air and show that he will be airborne, and you'll be able to counteract him and knock him down and get him out of the area of the combat zone pretty efficiently and quickly. Even though, be wary if you are in the air, some enemies aren't afraid to shoot you while in midair. So if you do see a white or blue line that is on your character, do not, if you can, wait till the line goes red. Then press circle. Then when you do it, it'll be counted as a perfect dodge. See, like that? Don't be afraid to dodge and try to be wary of all your surroundings. And 1 or 2 extra dodges here and there will not hurt. It might actually help you cover more ground of the battle, so you can get to some targets quicker and easier. And who knows, you might even get a little bit extra damage on one. See, like example, he was about to hit me. I was able to do that. And see, I was being clumsy there. But if I was able to, I would have been able to dodge him and his friend and cause a good amount of damage to both of them. And another trick you might want to know is if you press square then X on them, like so, it kicks them around. So it basically bounces off of them. And if you press square and triangle together, even though that was a poor demonstration of it, you basically put them on your chest and launch them forward, either off a building, even though, yes, it won't kill them. It will make them stick to buildings, since, you know, Spider-Man's rule is no killing. And that will also be a very good technique, so whenever you take out those brutes and they're webbed up completely, just punch them, press triangle, they launch into a wall, they'll stick right to the wall and be out of the fight the rest of the battle with you and whatever the gang they were with. And if you get farther enough, like I am, well, if you're able to see a brute, you could be able to either web him up with normal web shooters, like I just shown using earlier as a tutorial to show you how webs work, like this. You could web them up in about maybe 5 shots, but if you want to get them up and immediately, press R1 with the impact web, which is holding L1, then using the left stick to go to this icon. Then press R1, and it automatically webs them up entirely. Spends 1 web, and that's it. And you could basically just punch, then triangle, launch him onto the wall, he'll be out of the fight. And let's see if I can find another. Alright, for example, normal goons, they might not be able to stand up to this impact web, as shown here. See, 1 shot from him, and 1 shot from him. Sticks him right to the wall. If there's too many enemies overwhelming you, this would be a good crowd control. And it will definitely help you in the further parts of the game, because if you do have the Turf Wars DLC, which has a lot more enemies than the main game and then the previous one, that skill will come in real handy. Basically thinning out the numbers and looting, basically thinning out the numbers so that you can have more room to breathe and plan your next attack. And as I was showing through here, perfect dodge, webs them right in the face and gives you a few seconds of stun so you can start wailing on them. Then punch, kick, basically square and X, then square, triangle would launch them. As I would show you, even though I haven't mastered this skill yet, I will show you how to do it. It is about right here. Yeah, basically press square then hold triangle and it launches them, so in any direction that you want. So web them up, press square then hold triangle, launch them to the wall, they'll stick right to it. And and don't be afraid to think, oh, is this all going to be on one thing? When you first start out, you just start with a slow web slinging and basic combat, and you start out with just these normal web shooters. Then as you progress long enough, you gain more and more gadgets, and it makes you get a little bit more used to the combat each chapter you go to. Like Web Bomb, that's a good crowd control to help you basically thin out the numbers. Think of it as a impact web, but on multiple targets. So if there's just one target that's or more targets that's coming towards you and being an absolute pain, don't be afraid to use the web bomb. It'll help you out tremendously in the future, and it will actually give you some air to breathe in the battle. So, like, as I'll show you in... and here is an armed robbery. Like, you'll actually see, like, people with guns, and I could show you that dodge mechanic with the red line and the blue. So, and it is a little bit hard to catch at first, but it is manageable. Like, see here. They see me? Wait till they try to fire on me. Let's see. See? That red line? Press circle as soon as it grows red. Then, just let them have it. Dodge. Perfect. Then when you reach farther enough like me, you'll be able to press triangle on them and take them out outright. To where they're just out of the picture. And as I said, launch. Do an air combo to gain more focus. And then press triangle and circle to do a finish, as said. And with me, since I've made it a little bit farther in the game than usual, I could basically do 2 finishers in 1 bar, as shown, per example. But the thing is with that is that you're only able to do 2 finishers within a certain time limit. So if that time limit passes, you'll only be able to do 1, and you have to build that meter up again just to do 2 combos of a finisher. And it is a bit difficult to catch the timing of it, but once you do, you'll be taking out thugs and crime lords left and right. It won't be a problem at all. So don't be afraid or nervous to think this combat system's a little bit too complicated. But once you start, it'll be so simple that even a person who's just caught this game and never played a Spider-Man game before would be able to catch up onto it in maybe a half hour. And one thing that I could show you is like some mechanics about the suit, like you're seeing right now. This isn't like the suit in the like cover of the game. It isn't the actual thing. So what we do is head over here, and all these suits are available for you to wear and be unique in each playthrough. So one thing I will tell you is not all of them are like just outright unlockable. So some, like 95% of them is where you had to basically get certain tokens, like you see in the bottom left, where you see a microscope, building, a flag, exclamation point, a T, and a backpack. So all of those can contribute to you unlocking your suits, your powers, and your suit mods. So, like so, you saw that. Like it shows here, challenge tokens and crime tokens. Like I have abundance of them since I've played this game for a little bit. Just buy them, and you'll be able to have them, and rinse and repeat. And I will have to tell you, you might have a little bit over the amount that the game requires you with the crime tokens, but it is enough to where you can get everything in the game. And for me, if you want to have a starting process to it, I would recommend once you reach maybe level 20, get the first aid, which gives you more health when you have a focus bar, which is those green bars that I've shown you how you gain by the aerial combat, normal combat, and web slinging. That gains you more health and is able to give you a little bit more of a forgiving time window. And then reduces bullet damage than the melee damage. That will help you lessen the blows of certain types of enemies, as well as giving you more of a forgiving experience. But with me, I've recently realized is I do kind of a slow-mo perfect dodge kind of play, where I basically perfect dodge increases damage. I usually use that one. Then at this one, I would use, let's see, Yeah, slow time after a perfect dodge. So, and this basically rewards anybody with a kind of easy access to wail on some enemies, even some with a shield. Just duck behind them and wail on them with that perfect dodge to slow up that time down and help you take them out. So, and one way I could show you a good example of this is bases of certain enemy types. Like for here is Sable. They're one of the most difficult and most time-consuming enemies to fight in this game. But once you figure them out, they won't be that hard. One thing that makes them a lot more difficult than the others is their armor. One way to take down their armor is basically an impact web. Basically, let's see. This one right here, the concussive blast. So, once you use that, it blasts all armor on them off completely. And it sends them flying. And if you want to be funny and just Fusru-da them off of rooftops, you could use this and it can complete the side quest in no time. Like if they're on roofs, do this and they'll fly off to the building and stick to walls and the quest will be finished and it has no time started whatsoever. And as I was saying with the Sable, once you use that concussive blast, they'll become like regular old thugs. You'll be able to hit them and knock them out pretty easily, and you will be able to knock them out fairly easily than you would if you kept the armor on. Because the armor is very, very difficult to get through. And like right here, as I'll show you again, with the car chases, it takes a bit to catch up to them, but once you do, and you have onto them for a little bit more, you just see the triangle icon, like I said so. You go on here, press R3, it shows you everyone in the car and who's about to stick their head out. Like that. You see him, knock him out, then only thing is the driver. You lean right again, take him out. And another thing I forgot to mention about this car chase crime is where if you see people sticking out, you'll have to use the left analog stick to either stick to the right or left side. So if you see someone like sticking out the right side, you basically move to the right and basically press square to take them out and lessen the numbers in the car to get this quest and completed. See, like here's a good part of my build where you see the perfect dodge slow time, and if you don't perfectly dodge in that time, it won't slow time down. Shown here, it gives a good time to beat up on these guys that are easily able to block your attacks. So if you're able to do that and time it just right, you could take almost everyone down in one go or one or two perfect dodges, and it's very rewarding once you get the timing right. Like that. Perfectly defeated, no problem whatsoever. Not even a damage to my health. And one thing if you wanted to know is the research labs, right, like over here. They are basically kind of like a, how would I say it? It's like, it's kind of like a mini challenge. You basically just come here, do a certain thing for scientific research in Spider-Man's town, like maybe swing through certain gases or to get no idea of what's causing the pollution in the area of New York, or maybe causing a cure for maybe some bacteria in the fish in a certain water. And one thing is, if you wanted to know, if you do beat this game, I'll enter this again so you could see. Right here, you could change the time of day. From day, sunset, and night. Any time of day you wanted. For right now, I have it on sunset. But if you wanted to and become a night owl, set it right to night. And you'll be able to swing around New York at the time of night, and you get to see this loading screen transitioned into a nice midnight background, which is very unique, and in my opinion, I thought it was very cool. And when you wear certain suits, as you can see, it glows brightly in the night. So, for example, if you wanted to wear, let's say, the Infinity Spider suit from, like, Infinity War, put that on, your whole suit will glow. Your eyes, your waist, shoulders, and arms, they will glow and make you look like you're just prowling the night like some sort of predator out to justify any means of justice. And then another costume that would be pretty cool to look at would be the in my opinion, I think the anti-ox suit would look pretty nice in this one, which is showing bright colors of yellow and black. Basically, the whole suit lights up and basically makes you fade into the background, to where if any criminal would be able to do crimes, they wouldn't be seeing you until they saw the spider and the yellow glowing eyes, until either A, they're on a cop car, or B, they're on the floor unconscious. But yeah, so any time of day you wanted it to be, you could switch it and enjoy it at any time after you beat the game. And I will tell you, the bosses in this game, people say they're a little bit lackluster. In my opinion, I think they're actually kind of fun. They are unique and they are very fascinating to learn. And once you learn them, it's like, oh, I get it now. And you'll be able to figure out their weaknesses and beat them somewhat fluently. Although with me, my biggest trouble at the beginning was trying to figure out this one boss's patterns. It could be easy for you. It couldn't. It might not be. But one thing I do know is that it all depends on the player. So, yeah, fighting each boss is different, and some bosses are a pain. Like, some are like one at the near the end. He's kind of a pain to actually stun. But then once you know the timing of his attacks and you get to stun him, try to take him out first. But because I won't spoil it for you, but that boss will cause some trouble if you don't know what you're doing. So be sure to dodge and get your certain moves in on that one type of enemy. So be sure to learn this before you go into any sort of boss fights. And another thing about boss fights is that there's 2 secret ones in this game. If you all want me to do a walkthrough on how to acquire them, I'll be happy to do so. And if you want to see how to defeat them, how to see how they move and how they interact with the character of Spider-Man, don't be afraid to tell me if you want to see it, because I'll be happy enough to do it. So, but yeah. Oh, and welcome new viewers that just joined. Hope you enjoy the stream, and if you have any questions about certain game types of mechanics, don't be afraid to ask, and I'll be sure to answer to the best of my abilities. So, yeah. But welcome to the stream, you all. So do any of you all have questions about certain game types? If you do, leave a comment, and I'll be sure to answer.
Let the EMTs do their job now.
And oh, and here's the thing. In certain aspects of people with jetpacks, one easy way I've actually figured out to handle them is basically the electric web. It shocks them in the air, keeps them stunned, and it will help you take them down a lot quicker, because enemies in jetpacks in this game are very, very annoying to handle. So once you use that electric web, it'll be able to get them out of your hair and focus on the main battle ahead. So, Oh, and if you want to get easier air combos, here's a suspension matrix. Ugh. You use it, launches them right up in the air, so you don't even have to use that one hold square attack, and you just wail on them and gain focus right out the gate. And yeah, if you want to mix up the combat a bit and want to become a pure web slinger in this combat, don't be afraid to. And if you wanted to take out 2 enemies in one go, here's a tip. Launch a mine on one. On like one certain enemy, like let's say him. Takes them both out at the same time. So 2 birds with 1 stone. And another is the spider drone. If you have a little bit of difficulty in taking him out, this little guy will help you take out certain enemies in a cinch. So if there's maybe 2 enemies that's bugging you, you send him out, he'll take care of one of them while you beat on the other, or he might even assist you in taking that one or one of the 2 and get them basically knocked out so you can focus on his the other thug's friend. But and as I said, don't be afraid to comment or leave anything, because I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. And thank you all for joining, and I really appreciate your all support on this stream. And I appreciate the time you're willing to spend to see this amount of content of an average playthrough. But as if there are any skills that you all want to know, or types of powers that you might be interested in, it all depends. Like if you want it to be like the Iron Spider, like off of Infinity War, you could use that. Although it does have some of its drawbacks. In my opinion, it doesn't have much like animations to make it look unique. Even though yes, it does in combat, but when you activate it out of combat and just swinging around in New York, it looks kind of weird and kind of flows awkwardly with the web slinging. While Blitz, in my opinion, I think it's kind of a useless skill. Even though, yes, it's kind of funny to run through them and just bash people and make them go flying, it isn't worth it in the end. And the King of the Ring, yeah, you could be able to throw them without webbing them, but it would just be kind of a waste of a power slot, because you could just do an impact web and do the same thing. And the quad damage, it wouldn't really... Yes, it might be a little bit overpowered to do it with the perfect dodge, but to me, I'd prefer something more of a backup just in case if something came up. So like with me, I use the Unrelenting Fury. So let's say if I can't get a perfect dodge in, I activate this, I can hit people with shields, I can hit those brutes without a problem, and it basically gives me a good cushion of protection, and I'm still able to move around and get my hits in. But if you feel like that might not be your cup of tea, then do resupply to where it can help you more on the battlefield. Activate this, and your gadgets will refill at a very quick rate. But you won't get this until later in the game. But I tell you, but once you do complete the game and you do have this skill, it does come in very handy. And I know some areas and some crimes do have a lot of gun users. If you feel like you need that, then probably try titanium alloy plates. That gives you... oh wait, actually, that would be the less of the 2 abilities I might recommend you to use. This one kind of only blocks bullets. But here, that comes with the Spider-Man armor Mark IV, it basically blocks all damage. So if you want to have that really good extra coating of protection and a little bit of a forgiving window, then use this one, because if there's a lot of gun users, you don't have to dodge as much, you don't have to focus on so many people, you can just focus on one person at a time until it wears out. Then if you really want to get up to a challenge and really have a high risk, high reward, then I would probably recommend you Equalizer. Everyone goes down in one hit, but you do as well. Even though it doesn't seem worth it, because I might dodge here and there, but for me, it has too much of a high cost than it would reward. And with me, one of the other useless skills I think would be kind of like the sound of silence, where no enemy calls for backup when alerted. To be quite honest, it doesn't seem that unique to me. It doesn't have a very impactful way on the gameplay. While Hollow Decoy, even though yes, it is a reference to one of the comics, it really isn't needed. And Bullet Protection is like one of the worst skills you can use. So be sure, if you want to have the protection, use the Mark IV Spider Armor skill if you want to have that extra protection. And if you want to take out a lot of enemies in one go and not be so basically defensive or offensive, it would be Web Blossom, which it takes out a lot of the main enemies in a wide area. Might not automatically get them sticking to walls, but it does give a good portion of them sticking to the walls. While Spider Bro, I don't really see this as a plus because there's a gadget for that same skill, which is basically Spider Bros is just a spider drone, so kind of a useless skill in my opinion. An Arms Race, I don't see a point in it because you can have a skill later in the game which takes enemy weapons, and you'll be able to counteract them quite efficiently. To me, it just kind of seems like a waste. But like skills, if you feel a little bit more antsy into going offensive, then I guess, and you feel like you don't get hit that much, then I'd recommend you get the fully charged capacitors, which increases your damage when your health is above 100, or at 100 at least. And another one, if you want to level up somewhat quicker, although not by much, Combat Analyzer would be a good starting point, but in the end, it's not worth the amount of items you put into it on the later game. And the Long Range Scanner, it would be nice if you go full stealth, even though the main concept of this game isn't just stealth itself. It's mainly hand-to-hand combat and taking out every criminal in one area. If you wanted to, you could plan out your stealth mission or stealth approach with this skill and get a heads up on the enemy. And if you felt like you're a more gadget user and want to get more focus so you could heal or do more finishers, then this might be good for you as well. And as I mentioned earlier, these two right here give you a little bit more cushioning for your character so that he won't die as quickly. Because in this game, even on normal difficulty, enemies do take a good chunk of your health with each hit. So, in my recommendation, when you first start out, will start with this. I would recommend this being your first skill to get, because it will save you in the long run. And then when you get to this perk, get this one second, and then get this one third. So you can have a very good, decent, forgiving backup kind of build to where you have an extra cushioning of health and resistance. But as you get along and get more professional, as I told you, the same view as earlier, with me, I'm more of a dodger. So I use the perfect dodge perks, which helps me reward me for each perfect dodge I do. And the suits, there are a wide variety of them for like Advanced, which is the cover, the Classic, Old Noir, then the Scarlet Spider from the old comics of Ben Reilly, then Electro suit when Spider-Man fought Electro, the Negative suit off of another comic issue, the Homecoming movie, and certain other types of outfits as well, including the Spider-Punk, and as well as Peter Parker's first outfit of Spider-Man himself when he was wrestling for his job as Spider-Man. And then it goes farther and farther into comic lore, and even has like a kind of a Ghost Rider kind of reference to a comic. And if you wanted to pay homage to the new Spider-Man that was in Infinity War, then you get to wear the Iron Spider or the Stark suit once you unlock them, and it looks really cool at night, because here's a cool feature that you might not know or might not have paid attention to if you do have this game. When rain hits the Iron Spider suit right here, it basically shows the suit rusting a slight bit to where they give that little bit of detail. And it shows you that the suit is made out of metal, and gives you that attention to show you that the devs did pay attention and make that suit unique. And if you feel like more futuristic, then do the Spider-Man 2099 suits. With my preparation, I would prefer the white. Then, if you love the comics, absolutely love them, then I would recommend you get the vintage comic book suit, and you can throw quips at enemies, basically insult them, and even though it doesn't do anything to the battle, it's very funny to see some of their reactions and see them get aggravated to your own quips. The Last Stand, and then even though, yes, if you do 100% the game, you do get this suit, the undie suit. It isn't the best suit, unless you just wanted to go swinging through New York just willy-nilly and just wanted to be funny for a bit. This would be kind of the suit for you. And then the ESU suit is like a secret suit that you can get in the game by searching all 50 secret photo op locations. Once you do, this suit will unlock, and you'll be able to use it throughout New York. Even though it does have a power, I will not tell you how the black and yellow suit will be unlocked, because that is a story spoiler. But the dark suit, it's off of one of the side quests that you do in this game, basically all the collectibles. So once you get that done, you do those, and then at the very end, and you find out what happens to all those locations you discovered. You basically go to a certain spot where it tells you, and you collect this suit. And I will have to admit, it is unique, and it is one of my favorite color palettes, black and red. It is, in my opinion, one of the sleekest suits in the game. And the rest of these suits down here are kind of from the Resilient suit to the Spider Clan suit is basically the DLC suits. So if you want me to go through DLCs after the main playthrough, I'll do that, and I'll try to show you how to unlock these, and so that you could be swinging through New York as the Iron Spider, Spider Armor Mark 1, or the Scarlet Spider 2, or any of these other ones. If you have any questions, or if you want to recommend something, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below so I could see it and put it into perspective. And then the skills. Basically, there's 3 different types of trees. The Innovator, which is basically your web kind of combat. So, for example, like this one, you hold triangle once an enemy's completely webbed, and you swing them around like you saw me earlier doing it to like some trash can and fling it at an enemy. You could do that with them, but just hold that triangle button and let them go and see them flying. But here's a quick tip though. If you have this skill and they're completely webbed up and you're near a wall, fling them to the wall, as I said with the brutes, and it'll make them stick right to it. Then, if you wanted to do a little bit more of a stealthy kind of thing, then this would be good to help you have a higher ground and still do a perfect perch takedown. Then, whenever you have this skill, it helps you kind of give a little bit more of a breathing room. Basically, any enemies around you while you're slinging some objects, it knocks them to the ground while taking out your target in the front. And as I told you right here, with the disables weapons, this is one of the skills I told you that would be the reason to take that skill out of consideration. It takes every gun, like basically this one takes pistols and batons out of enemies' hands outright. Then the next one takes like rifles, rocket launchers, shields, like that stuff away so that you can have an easier time with them. And then if you wanted to be really courageous, then once you take that gun, you could launch it right back at them with this skill. And if you time it just right, and if you do it with my perfect dodge build, you could be able to reflect a rocket shot at you right back at the person who shot you or someone nearby. And since sometimes I do throw objects at enemies, even though it does knock them down like shown here, it will damage them as well, so I don't have to hit them as much. And this skill will come in real handy later, even though it is later endgame. The brutes will be able to be grabbed and then thrown when webbed, which, and as I said with that previous tip, with those normal goons, you'll be able to web them to the wall and get them out of the fight. And this one kind of gives you a little bit of damage boost to your silent takedowns. And then this one, stealth takedowns take more focus to mine, so it would be a good starting point. And like here's the one thing where it says leaping off of enemy or in the air, pressing square and X together smashes the ground, causing explosive force, causing enemies to be stumbled back. But then the next skill, you do it again, it makes them go flying. Then, and this skill near the very end of the defender skill, which is basically your defense. Once you dodge a guy who's shooting at you, where you saw that red line appear on you and you perfectly dodge, and you see that triangle, press it and you'll zip right toward him and take him right out of the fight. Then when you're below half health, attacks generate more focus, so you can have a little bit more of a forgiving area. Then yeah, basically, as you can see, this defender tree is basically a dodge and focus generated kind of tree. Then the web slinger is basically all of your web slinging abilities. You swing in combat. If you launch them in the air, like you see me do a couple of times, hold square, launch them up in the air, and then hold square again, you kick them, and they go flying. And if you do enough damage and you launch them up and then do that kick, it'll not kill them, will knock them out and take them out of the fight. Then this one, air attacks deal additional damage and generate more focus. And web zip is a very good skill to use, so you can use two of them now at a later point. So if you want to do more of a web slinging kind of thing, I would recommend this. Or if you want to do a little bit more tricks, then this. Either these two right here, if you want to just do web slinging outright. The quick zip or air tricks. But if you want to go into more of a combat kind of thing, then get the air marshal first. Then, air yank, a very good skill. So if you're in the air and you already knocked someone else out, you hold triangle and it'll yank someone up right up to you. And you can just start doing air combos again and again and again. And unless they're brutes. If you do it to a brute while you're in midair and he's not webbed, then he will yank you down to the ground. And if you do web sling, this is a really good skill to get you used to the web slinging as well. So once you land onto a floor and you just see yourself roll, press X and you launch yourself off and give yourself a little bit of momentum again so you can start web slinging again. But and this one I absolutely love and I use every time I have the chance. So if I'm on the ground of New York, if you stand still and you hold R2 and X, you get a really high jump, and then after you do that high jump, you do a dive and then swing. I'll show you in a minute after I show you the rest of these skills. Then the swing attack, like you see up here, hold square and you be able to do damage that way. It will knock over shield enemies. So basically, as you can see there, it basically gets through the enemies with a shield. And increases the damage and range of web strike, which you already know, which is just zipping right to them and just getting a head start. Now this one, point launch boost. So once you reach the contact of a certain item, as soon as you see your character touch the ground of that certain object, press X right away and you see that little force of dust and air go off whenever you hit it just right. You'll know when you hit it just right when you see that cloud beneath his feet. And you get a lot farther distance. And that would be it for the skills. Now the collections, I will tell you this, a lot of them, if you are a Spider-Man fan, there's a lot to collect, and there's a good amount of stuff to collect and give you like old nostalgia of certain things. For example, let's see, if you watch or read the first comic.
My underarm webs. I thought they might help me glide short distances, but they never really worked. Looked cool though.
Yeah, as it said, like his underarm webs. That gives you like the old reference to how he used to wear them in the beginning of the comics of the Amazing Spider-Man. And the pizza delivery, I think this is more of a lines of the reference with the 2000 Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. So I thought this was a neat reference as well. Then this stealth fragment, if you do know, it would lead up to the stealth suit in later comic issues. And I loved how this one showed up because it kind of gives a reference to Stan Lee. And certain types of these collectibles, like in the backpacks, have certain characters within the comics. If you are a Spider-Man fan, it'll catch your eye if you look closely enough. And one thing I will tell you is the way you'd be able to just be surprised at how much detail this whole game gives you. Like, even gives Peter's old glasses.
I didn't need my glasses anymore. Told everyone I got laser eye surgery with money from the Fisk Science Prize.
As shown there. It even shows his parents in a locket at one point, and there is a helmet from like Mysterio. There's what else? There is like the old Shocker outfit. It has like an old torn piece of it from here, so that's always a good thing to notice. And if you are a very big fan of the Spider-Man, you'll love the collectibles. And if you feel like more of a kind of a person that is on Peter's side of photography, there's all sorts of landmarks you can go around the map and take pictures of. And if and while doing this, taking pictures of those certain landmarks will reward you with tokens, to which will help you unlock suits, powers, and mods, as well as gadget upgrades. And yeah, if that's all I pretty much have to say, so thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next average playthrough. See you guys later.